Who's joining me now is Paul Marriott. He is a teacher at Ting Pong Secondary School. And Paul, tell me what you saw, because apparently you were actually teaching in your classroom when you noticed the smoke from this building?
Yeah, well, the school is actually Law Ting Pong Secondary School, and yes, I do teach at the school. And what happened was I was actually in a free period, and what happened was I went outside, and a couple of the kids said to me, "Mr. Marriott, there's all of this smoke coming out," and they kind of made a joke that, oh, somebody had a cigarette and they were smoking, near the mountain, and we never really thought much about it. We just kind of thought it was probably just a hill fire or maybe a bushfire. Someone was burning leaves or maybe a sacrifice or something, and didn't really think twice about it. And it wasn't until about an hour later, just before the end of school, I get a WhatsApp message from my wife, and she says to me, "Oh, hey, did you know that on the news, typo, there's a big fire?" And I'm like, oh my gosh, that fire outside, the billowing smoke, that huge trail, that must be it. And wow, yeah, so it was, to say the least, it was shocking. It was really shocking. And by the time the school finished at 3:50 and all the kids went out, when they all just looked at the smoke, they got their phones and they were, taking photos and videos. It was just mad. It really was. And yeah.
Mad is a good way to describe it. We are looking at pictures right now, Paul, of some of the daylight scenes that you would have caught in terms of all the smoke. But the fire remains out of control at this hour. What can you tell us about this neighborhood? And could you actually see, or actually you saw smoke, could you smell it? I mean, at what point did you realize that this is not a run-of-the-mill fire?
When couldn't smell anything, I mean, you couldn't miss it for the world in terms of the trail. So there was a lot of billowing smoke. There was a lot of ash clouds up in the sky. And by the time the school had finished, so 4:15 p.m., I actually, the curiosity in me decided to go out. I went out and I was walking down the trail, and according to the news, we were told of the housing estate where the fire was taking place. So I sort of made my way there. And as I progressed towards, using my Google map, I was able to, there were lots and lots of people, just crowding around, like looking at this fire. And it was, so by the time I got to the venue, there were just loads of people just, looking at the fire, just looking really confused, not knowing what to do, except take a few photos and videos. Yeah. So it was, all we did was just, just follow the smoke and follow the map. Mm.
Yeah, and we are looking at some of the pictures now from earlier in the day, and we've got that scaffolding, but then obviously the green cladding over it as well, which seems completely engulfed. Earlier, you saw a lot of plumes of smoke. Now we are actually seeing full-on blazes. Did you get a sense of how many people were able to escape this fire? I mean, thankfully it was the middle of the afternoon. Hopefully most people were not in the building who usually live there.
To be quite honest, I really have no idea in terms of how many people were living there. I couldn't even answer, at this specific moment in time, whether we have or had any students who lived there or any parents and, people who were part of the community living there, which is when I got there. We had a few students kind of passing by and they were saying hi, and we kind of spoke about the thing. At the time, there were about 2 or 3 buildings on fire. I think that was when it was, I'm not too good with my terminology, but I think it was like a class 3 or a class 4, and that was just before it upgraded to class 5. So it was 3 buildings billowing with smoke, and there was fire. And it wasn't until later on in the evening when the fire started building up, and it engulfed the 4th building. And I think that was when they started bringing it to category 5. No, there was no smell. It was just a lot of visible, flames and smoke. And in terms of how many people, were evacuated, we could not tell. I personally don't know anyone who lived in that building. Go ahead.
And so, Paul, I don't know how long you've lived in Hong Kong or if you live in a high-rise, but how terrifying is this event right now for so many residents in Hong Kong as they take this in?
Well, I'll answer that. Yeah, so I've lived in Hong Kong pretty much all my life. I was born here, although I grew up in a very expat international community. Unfortunately, I don't really speak Cantonese, but beside the point, in terms of like the high-rise thing, in terms of all the the tragedies that we've the events that we've had in Hong Kong, this by far in Tai Po is probably one of the worst events I've ever encountered in Tai Po of my 15 years of working in the Tai Po district, if not the whole of Hong Kong. So I would say, in Hong Kong, it's very common to live in a high-rise building because it's a very densely populated city. There's so many people living here. So living in a high-rise building is like the norm, the necessity. We rely on lifts or elevators, as we call it, to go up and down. And, we have fire, at school we've got fire drills, we have fire exits and stuff, and we never really sit down to think what would happen if there was a fire. And I'm just thinking, because we have had in the past couple of years, if you kind of look at the news, we've had quite a few building fires, and I think the reason for that is like we have a lot of flats that are very small and very dense, and people are just putting who knows what into their flats, connecting all these wires and stuff. Everything's so densely packed, it's bound to have a fire. But I mean, a lot of the fires that you see in Hong Kong on the news, they're usually just, one flat, maybe one block, but very rarely is it like 8 blocks. I mean, that is just something way beyond our imagination, and it's just shocking. It was terrifying. And no, to me, I mean, it's terrifying. It really is. Absolutely terrifying.
It is incredibly concerning. We continue to take in the pictures from both earlier in the day and also what's happening now in the evening, because this fire still looks out of control. How sobering will this be, though, for the community that you work in, given how close it is to where you teach it, and obviously most people, hopefully at this point in time, being reunited with family members, but then having to face the prospect of not having a home?
That's a really good question, and I was talking to quite a few friends and family members and colleagues about this. This is not something that it just happened to happen, and the next day it's business as usual, because there could be people from our school who know people who live in that building, if not live in that building per se. This is going to affect a lot of people, and this is not something that you can just brush under the carpet. This is something that's going to linger in people's minds for a long time. And I know in Hong Kong there's been a lot of debates. Some of the students have also had school debates, if not Hong Kong debates in general. Should bamboo scaffolding be abolished? And there's been a lot of debate about it. I know I might be rabbit holing here, but bamboo scaffolding is a cheap commodity. It's easy to get, in Hong Kong. But the problem is because it's got this kind of wood property to it, so it's flammable. This could very well be a case to say, hey, maybe we've got to start abolishing bamboo scaffolding because of incidents like this. If the fire is really not to say that this actually happened, but if the fire has really been started because of all this bamboo scaffolding, then we have to look at alternative scaffolding.
You're making such a good point, Paul, in the sense that, of course, we have to wait for an investigation. We have no idea. We have to wait until they actually get the evidence and the facts. But as you are speaking, we are showing pictures of the scaffolding collapsing, burning, and also this green mesh that that is clad around it. It certainly would seem to anyone looking at the pictures that it would make it easier for the fire to spread, if nothing else.
Yes, that green mesh is quite common with the construction sites. I believe, not that I'm a construction expert, but I believe the reason why we have that mesh is supposed to, it's supposed to keep the dirt out, or it's supposed to keep things out or stop things coming in. I just assume whenever I see that green mesh, I just assume, okay, it must be construction. That's all, just by instinct, just by looking at it. But yes, but it is a fire risk. It is a fire risk, yes.
Yeah, Paul, we will leave it. We will leave it there for now. I'm sorry for you and your students, because it will be a sobering day tomorrow morning. when you reconvene. And hopefully, people have reunited with their families already, and what we are looking at now is a fire burning, but with no one still trapped inside. We will wait for more news from authorities. Paul Marriott, we thank you for your insights there.